Stephen Morales here. Quick video on my lab results. I had some blood work done. I do this on a regular basis, but I actually wanted to cover cholesterol and some things that you can do to help. Now, I've gotten sick a couple times, had to have my gallbladder removed, my appendix removed, and usually when that happens I just get nauseous all the time. I stop eating, my cholesterol is actually plummeted, and HDL, mine dropped down to 26. It actually became a problem because it's too low. Now, so I want to cover some of this so if you ever go to the doctor, you get your blood work, you can kind of better understand what you're looking for. Because they'll tell you on there what the range should be, but a lot of times they don't necessarily tell you things that you can do to improve it or anything like that. So my overall cholesterol is actually 127, which is really, really low. Usually you're between 100 and 200, so if it gets above 200, they get concerned. And they want you to start doing things, whether that's taking medication, which I don't recommend you do unless you absolutely have to. But it's really a lifestyle change is what you need to do. And they're going to want you to cut out processed meats and all that other stuff and basically stop consuming a lot of cholesterol and start exercising and stuff like that. So mine is 127. It's, like I said, been as low as 106. Now that is overall cholesterol. What you're looking at after that, though, is going to be your LDL, your low density lipoproteins, and then your HDL, your high density ones. Your LDL is actually bigger, though, in size than your HDL. Your body is going to actually kind of recycle that, and what your HDL does is it finds the LDL and it pulls it back to the liver so it can get processed again. So you need that HDL to make sure that there's not a whole bunch of LDL in the blood. Now, getting a little bit into physiology, and there's other videos that can better demonstrate this visually than I can right now just telling you, but having extremely high LDL is going to eventually present a potential problem because that's if you have any type of kind of wound or anything like that, you have your veins or in your arteries, and you're going to have foam cells. What's going to happen, you're going to have a small amount of damage inside. This just happens day to day with things flowing around in your blood, and this is why it's important to take antioxidants is to help prevent some of this. But they're going to get, these foam cells are going to get sticky, and they're essentially going to stick to your epithelial cells, the cells this inside your bloods and your veins. They make your veins. Now when that happens and these foam cells attach to that LDL and all that's going to attach to that, and that's going to create plaque buildup. So when we talk about LDL contributing to heart disease and all that other stuff, it's really the whole process of there being some type of trauma inside of the vein or the epithelial wall has experienced some type of damage, and with that, foam cells going to attach to it, and then you're going to have a buildup of LDL. You're going to have plaque buildup, and over time, that's what's going to cause a blockage. Okay. If you have HDL, it can help basically facilitate the removal of that LDL from that. So ultimately, we want high HDL and low LDL. Now there is a ratio. You don't want this completely skewed, which is hard to do anyways, but HDL, usually they want above 39. We've heard the numbers of essentially 40 to 60 for males and females. Females usually can be a little bit lower than that. They don't have to be 60. Females typically have higher HDL. Anyways, males typically struggle with getting their HDL up. Mine is 34, so I'm actually under 39. Now, I've been as low as 26, which is pretty low. But what we ultimately look for is a 1-to-4 ratio. Okay, so for every 4 parts of LDL, we want 1 HDL. With mine, my LDL right now is actually 82. Okay, so I'm pretty much at one third, right? So for every 3 parts of LDL, I have 1 HDL. So because my HDL is a little bit lower, I'm not actually concerned because I have that 1-to-4 ratio. Like I said, I'm actually 1 to 3. So with that, I'm not concerned with the fact that my HDL is 34. Now, if that was skewed, right, if I only had 34 and my LDL is like 150, that is concerning, I got too much LDL going on in my blood, okay? And then your liver has a harder time because your HDL is trying to drag all that back to the liver's trying to process it, and your body reuptakes it. So the liver is pouring out bile into your gallbladder if you have one. I don't, otherwise it's dripping into your intestines, but it's going in there and it's absorbing the fat, okay? And it's helping break down. You need bile to break down fats. Now, your body ends up recycling. I think it's like 98%, I believe, if I remember correctly from school. It actually recycles your cholesterol, okay? And your small intestine is going to do that. So it's going to reuptake all that anyways. But with that, we need that HDL to make sure that there's just not a whole bunch of LDL just floating around in the blood, okay? Now, quick note on just cholesterol in general. It gives structure. You need cholesterol. You can't not have cholesterol. It gives structure to proteins and it gives structure to your body. I remember a quote from Daniel Vitalis, which actually is a quote from another guy. I can't remember his name right now, but he said if you didn't have cholesterol, essentially you would be a pool of water on the ground because there's nothing to give your body structure. Okay, so you need cholesterol. It's a precursor to hormones in your body also. That's another reason why you need it, okay? So it is good to have cholesterol. It's just being in these ranges that we want, right? Now, that's where you usually hear, especially in the last, decade, it was this war on cholesterol that people were having. They're trying to get rid of it in their diet, and you had the certain people in the community saying, no, we need that. It's really, you need to be in this gray area where it's not that it's just 100% good and it's 100% bad. It's just you need to be in this range where it's going to be healthy for you. And that's like with anything, right? You don't consume a whole bunch of one thing and not have something bad happen, right? You take too much vitamin A, for instance, you're going to have liver problems. Okay, it builds up in the liver, it can actually kill you. So it's finding these ranges that you need to be within. Now, quick tidbit on things that you can do to help. Let's say your HDL is low. Things that you can do to help. They say red wine, drinking red wine. I have GERD, I have gastroesophageal, it's just acid reflux, but it's gastroesophageal reflux disease. So I don't really drink wine, or I try to avoid things that are acidic because it irritates my acid reflux. But you can have a glass of wine, and you're going to get the resveratrol and all those other things in there in smaller doses. But they don't know why that necessarily, there's always these theories of why it does it, but they don't know necessarily why it actually increases your HDL. That is an option for you. Taking niacin, 1 to 3 grams a day. Some doctors actually end up prescribing niacin to patients to help. And with that, talking to some of my professors, they don't actually know. There's 7 different possible ways that this might be increasing HDL. So they weren't 100% for sure, so they just talk about all of them. We didn't cover that in my course. That was more the master's program, but right now they're not 100% sure, and it could be a couple of these things that are doing it. So you can take the 1 to 3 grams of niacin. You can also begin doing cardio, so just walking, increasing that. It's going to be better for blood flow anyways, and there's a ton of other health benefits for it, but walking, that's one of the things that they tell you. You need to start exercising more, lifting weights, right? Doing some type of strength training program, making sure that you're actually being active. And then it's another supplement, fish oil pills. Getting your DEA, your DHEA in there also. And those are going to be kind of the big ones, but that's really for the omega fatty acids, the omega-3 fatty acids, but you can get that from flax, chia, all those other things. It's making sure that you're getting a spectrum. So don't just stick with one thing. I try to get all of those, right? I do the chia seeds, I do the flax seeds, I do my omega fatty acids, I eat fish from occasion. A little bit harder here since we're in Oklahoma and we're not, I'm from Seattle, so we're not back there where you can get fresh fish. But doing all those other things, kind of taking that approach where we're going to not just stick with one thing that we're only doing, okay? Kind of more of a shotgun approach. So that's what I'm going to recommend for increasing HDL. Lowering LDL is going to be kind of the same thing as in terms of, because a lot of times when you increase HDL, you're going to drop LDL. So if it's one of those things where HDL is fine and you really just need to work on the HDL side of things, CoQ10 Kind of works like a statin. It is more expensive. You're going to need 150 milligrams to 300 milligrams. The mechanism is in the pathway, the metabolic pathway is very, very similar to what a statin drug does, but statins come with a whole bunch of side effects. So if you don't want to take a statin, obviously consult your doctor first. I'm not a doctor, but that could be something that you could look into, is taking CoQ10. And like I said, usually it's 150 milligrams to 300 is what you're seeing the studies with. Sometimes they're 300 to 600 milligrams. But look into that and do your own research with that also. That can be an option. Exercising, doing your cardio, that's going to lower that. And then just avoiding tons of processed meats and processed foods is going to be another way that you can do that. So make sure you're getting your blood work done on a regular basis. I like to get mine, if I can, done twice a year. Like every 6 months, I think it's important that you get your blood work done. Some people do it more frequently, but just to make sure that you're where you need to be. That way you can make adjustments. Otherwise, you're just kind of blindly hoping that these things are working. It's a way to check to see if it's working, and your hard work and your consistency is paying off. So if you have any questions or comments, please do that in the section below. I hope this information has helped. Do more research for sure. If you don't know how to read scientific research papers, you don't necessarily have to, but find somebody that you trust to interpret the information for you. I see it all the time where somebody takes just a handful of lines and then decides to run with that, and when they do that, it ultimately ends up being where it wasn't a study where the information that they provided, they've kind of twisted it and tweaked it a little bit to meet their narrative. So they're taking something out of context and essentially feeding you that information. So you're doing something based off what they told you, and it's not 100% correct with everything that they've provided you. So just be careful with that. So this has been Steve from Rouse, and I want to thank you for watching.